even without the details.
I've made my claim.
Trust myclaimgroup.co.uk.
Claims made simple.
At Direct Line, we know that for multi-property landlords, sometimes the tiniest of things can turn into way bigger problems. From niggly contract issues to keeping up with ever-changing legislation. That's why Direct Line's landlord insurance offers a 24/7 legal helpline as standard. Because a call with someone could help to make the hairiest of problems feel that little bit smoother. Search Direct Line Landlord Insurance. We're on it.
This is NDTV, and you're watching NDTV 24/7.
Hello and welcome to this Monday edition of the World Report. I'm Arjun, Samar, Mahendran. Let's take a look at what's making global headlines. US President Donald Trump on Sunday called his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin crazy for launching one of the biggest strikes on Ukraine since the start of the war. He in fact also warned Moscow that any attempts at a total takeover of Ukraine would quote-unquote lead to the downfall of Russia. Now, the overnight attack, viewers saw Russia fire 367 drones and missiles, the highest number in a single night, in fact, since the war began in February of 2022. At least 12 people, including 3 children, were killed and dozens more injured in widespread strikes across Ukraine. Meanwhile, listen to what Donald Trump said.
I'll give you an update. I'm not happy with what Putin's doing. He's killing a lot of people, and I don't know what the hell happened to Putin. I've known him a long time, always gotten along with him, but he's sending rockets into cities and killing people, and I don't like it at all, okay? We're in the middle of talking, and he's shooting rockets into Kiev and other cities. I don't like it at all.
Talked before about putting more sanctions on Russia. Is that something you're considering more seriously?
Absolutely. He's killing a lot of people. I don't know what's wrong with him. What the hell happened to him, right? He's killing a lot of people. I'm not happy about that.
Now, my colleague Vishal Vivek joins us for more on this story. Vishal, repeated calls for mediation from Washington to Moscow. Also an invitation, in fact, to Turkey's Istanbul for the talks. They've been snubbed time and again. What do you think the Trump administration will do now?
Well, this statement from Trump makes it clear that the US administration is quite unhappy with Russia. There have been some rumblings in the recent weeks which suggested that there would be some friction between both the leaders, but this makes it clear. This comes in the wake of, US sort of siding with Russia in the weeks ever since the talks between both the parties started for a peace deal. This indicates that the US could now definitely take some action against Russia because in March, Trump had indicated that there will be some sanctions on Russia pertaining to banks or some oil sanctions. So there could be some actions in those areas, but so far we can say that Trump is getting increasingly agitated with what Putin has been doing in Ukraine. These fresh wave of attacks, the biggest air attacks in Ukraine actually killed 13 people. So this has agitated Trump, and it remains to be seen what action US takes, but this has definitely made the ties between US and Russia, which seemed to have been getting better, worse for now.
So thanks for getting us the latest on that, Vishal. And of course, we'll keep on following up the story. Now, moving on, new satellite imagery shared by the widely recognized geointelligence expert Damien Samar shows evidence, in fact, of the Indian Air Force strikes on Pakistan's Murid Air Base, which a command and control structure appears to, in fact, have been taken out. And viewers, what's more, a new image from the Noor Khan Air Base also shows an entire area having been demolished. The Indian Air Force missiles had hit 2 large vans here, believed to have been command and control units. The area further around this area where the IAF struck with pinpoint accuracy has now been cleared out. And well, here's my colleague Vishnu Shom unpacking the latest on this.
Well, the satellite imagery, and let's have that up in a moment, full screen. The first image that you actually have on your screen now is of the Murid Air Base. And it appears that there's been substantial damage over here. The image on the left is what it was before the strikes took place, but the low-resolution imagery put out by the renowned geo-intelligence analyst, Damien Simon, and it's his interpretation, which is always fairly accurate, is that there's been damage on the building on the right. It's a command and control center. It appears to show a damaged section, a collapsed roof. And this, I would suggest, is indicative perhaps of drone strikes into this particular area. The next image, if we can just get on to, is of the Noor Khan Air Base. The Noor Khan Air Base, you can see one of the strikes which took place over there earlier on. Now, earlier satellite imagery post this particular strike at Noor Khan showed a particular command and control center which had been destroyed. So let's have that satellite imagery up as well. And what the new pictures put out by Damien Simon actually shows, not this. Can we go to the next image, please? So the next image, which we should also have, is of the Noor Khan Air Base, which actually shows the entire area where the Indian Air Force struck with precision accuracy. That has been taken out, that has been removed. So the picture that we have on our screen is not what I'm talking about, but the other satellite imagery, which we should be having up on our screen, shows that the entire area around where the Indian Air Force struck has been cleared out post the strikes.
All party delegations from India reached to their respective countries carrying a loud and clear message against Pakistan and its sponsored terrorism. Now, this after India ramped up international pressure, in fact, on Pakistan post the deadly Pahalgam attack. Global leaders, meanwhile, have backed New Delhi's unified and determined stance against terrorism. The global chorus against Pakistan has only grown. From Germany to Paris, the world, in its strong words, called out Pakistan and its long-standing pattern from the Middle East to the UNSC. Listen in.
So it was an excellent visit, and I assured the delegation that Guyana stands unequivocally with India. We are against terrorism, and we believe that all those who perpetrate terroristic acts must be brought to justice. So it was an excellent visit, and we are happy that the delegation came from India to Guyana.
US President Donald Trump has said that he would pause his threatened 50% tariffs on the European Union until the 9th of July after a very nice call with EU chief Ursula von der Leyen. Now, Trump had threatened on Friday, in fact, to invoke the steep tariffs as soon as the 1st of June, saying talks with the European Union over his previous levies were going nowhere. Now, listen into what the US President said.
Spoke to European Commission President von der Leyen. Did you discuss the 50% tariffs, and did you agree to reduce?
She just called me, as you know, and she asked for an extension on the June 1st date. And she said she wants to get down to serious negotiation because I've told you specifically, haven't I told anybody that would listen? They have to do that. And we had a very nice call, and I agreed to move it. I believe June 9th would be, July 9th would be the date. That was the date she requested. Could we move it from June 1st to July 9th? And I agreed to do that. And that she said we will rapidly get together and see if we can work something out.
Here's my colleague Rishabh unpacking the latest on the story.
Seen is the fact that this is another temporary reprieve in what has been a very sort of hard-set stance from Trump, meanwhile being very flip-flop also in the way that he's implemented these tariffs over the last 3 months or so. What we've seen is that we also have confirmation that it was the European Union and the office of Ursula von der Leyen which initiated contact with Trump and asked for this sort of temporary reprieve. And we've seen that this sort of tactic that the Trump administration has deployed, including the reciprocal tariffs as well as the baseline tariffs that administration has imposed on a lot of its trading partners, has worked, and it has brought a lot of these trading partners back to the negotiating table, where now the US can work towards fairer deals. What it calls has been very, very unfair, this trade sort of surplus that a lot of other countries share with the US, but the US remains in trade deficit. So that is what this Trump administration is now sort of addressing with these series of tariffs, and then the sort of take back of these tariffs, and then inviting trading partners to the negotiating table. What we've also seen is the fact that it has been extended to July 9, which is also the 90-day temporary pause period for the reciprocal tariffs.
Reports state that Israel's military has said it would in fact capture 75% of Gaza within 2 months. Now, this is as part of a major new ground offensive against Hamas. Israel has recently escalated airstrikes and aims to confine Gaza's 2 million population into an area amounting to 25% of the besieged enclave, reports assert. Staying in line with the Israel-Hamas conflict, an Israeli airstrike, in fact, on Gaza hit the homes of a doctor, killing nine, including her 10 children, while she was on duty at her hospital. Now, shifting focus to the land down under, Australia's Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has said it was an outrage that Israel is withholding humanitarian aid from Gaza. Albanese told reporters in Canberra that Israel's actions are quote-unquote completely unacceptable. Now, Israel blocked all food, medicine and fuel from entering the besieged enclave for 2.5 months before letting a trickle of aid enter last week, after experts' warnings of famine under pressure from some of Israel's top allies. Here's more.
Hamas, a terrorist organisation who should have no role in the future of Gaza or the West Bank. We make that very clear. We make clear that hostages should be released immediately. We've consistently and unequivocally opposed what happened on October 7. But states, which are democratic states, have a responsibility to behave in a way that is consistent with international law and with humanitarian concerns. And the whole world is concerned about what has occurred with the blockade, and Australia will continue to make clear statements on that.
Bangladesh's chief advisor Mohammad Yunus has said that the country had been in a state of war, in fact, since imposing the ban on the activities of the Awami League. Yunus said, and I quote here, "Warlike situation emerged both inside and outside the country, preventing us from moving forward, causing everything to collapse and pushing us back into subversience." My colleague Saurabh Gupta joins us for latest on this story. Saurabh, from a total political collapse to an industrial collapse, we've seen industry leaders come out last evening and, underline the grim situation that the country faces. Everything that could possibly go wrong for Bangladesh's interim government and Mohammad Yunus is, in fact, going wrong. So what are you picking up? What's the latest? And how do things, moreover, look for Mohammad Yunus and his interim government?
Well, at this point, the situation in Bangladesh is concerning simply because of the fact that Mohammad Yunus is under a lot of pressure. There's a pressure from political parties to announce elections as soon as possible. And the army has made it clear in Bangladesh that elections should be held by December. The main opposition party during the Sheikh Hasina regime, which is the BNP, the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, has also in its representations to Mohammad Yunus made it clear that elections should be held by December. This is one thing. Now, the critics of Mohammad Yunus have accused him of trying to cling on to power, but obviously with the help of, what they call Islamic hardliners who are using the students' movement as a front. But in all of this, Yunus is also under a lot of pressure over what we call a Rohingya corridor, which is a plan that he wants to push through. Sources say that the plan is fronted by the UN, backed by the US. But in all of this, Sheikh Hasina has also launched an attack on Mohammad Yunus, saying he wants to sell the country. But in all of this, again, there is pressure on him. There's pressure from industry because obviously his comments on the Northeast have led to sharp responses from India, and that has affected trade ties, and that has affected Bangladesh's economy as well. And all of this is something now becoming a hurdle for Yunus to tackle.
So thanks for getting us the latest from Bangladesh there, Saurabh. And of course, we'll keep on tracking this story. Now, moving on to Pyongyang. North Korea has arrested a fourth official following last week's failed launch of a new Navy warship. The visuals are on your screens, viewers. Pyongyang's state media reported on Monday. Now, the accident on Wednesday crushed parts at the bottom of the new 5,000-ton destroyer. According to KCNA, the state broadcaster, he was greatly responsible for the occurrence of this serious accident. Meanwhile, tens of thousands of Poles took part in a dueling patriotic marches in Warsaw on Sunday. Now, these were led by two men vying for the presidency in a June 1 runoff election, which in fact is expected to be both close and consequential for the nation's future. Now, many of those who joined Sunday's marches had in fact traveled from across Poland, a country of nearly 38 million people, not just to support a candidate, but to rally behind sharply divergent visions for the nation's future. Meanwhile, here's what the presidential candidate for the Civic Coalition Party underlined.
Najwyższy czas, żeby wygrała uczciwość. Najwyższy czas, żeby wygrała prawość. Najwyższy czas, żeby wygrała sprawiedliwość. Najwyższy czas, żeby wygrała prawda. O tym są te wybory. Przed nami dosłownie ostatnie kilka dni. Potrzebna jest pełna determinacja. Potrzebny jest każdy głos. Po to, żeby wygrała przyszłość. Po to, żeby wygrała cała Polska.
Well, the last time Canada's monarch opened a session of parliament, it was in the year 1977. Now, this was when Queen Elizabeth II, in fact, visited the country as part of a Silver Jubilee tour, viewers. But on Tuesday, King Charles III will become only the second monarch in Canada's history to participate in the historic ritual. From a walnut throne adorned with a spray of gold maple leaves, Charles, who's Canada's head of state, will in fact deliver the speech from the throne. Here's a report.
48 years after the last monarch opened the parliament session in Canada, King Charles III would be present in Ottawa to do the same and to deliver the speech from the throne. This is a hugely symbolic gesture coming in the backdrop of the persistent annexation threats from US President Donald Trump. Prime Minister Mark Carney had earlier pointed out in a statement that the King's visit would reflect that Canada has a steadfast defender of its sovereignty. The King would not be visiting Canada as a foreign dignitary, but rather as the head of the state. And it is expected that during his speech, a strong message would be sent out across the border from Canada to the United States. And that is why royal watchers are calling this a pivotal moment. In normal practice, the speech from the throne is made by the Governor-General as a representative of the monarch. The speech is written by the government and outlines its priorities. This time, the King would be delivering the speech himself. This is a whirlwind tour that King Charles III will be making to Canada along with Queen Camilla, and apart from opening the Parliament, the two would also be visiting a farmer's market and be engaging with the community. But all eyes are closely watching the message that King Charles would send out from the Canadian Parliament to the United States, and specifically to President Donald Trump.
Police reform and civil rights activists, in fact, joined thousands of people Sunday in Houston at religious services, concerts and vigils nationwide. Now, this to mark the 5th anniversary of George Floyd's murder. The A.I. Sharpton spoke to reporters after a Houston graveside service. In fact, he compared Floyd's killing to that of Emmett Till, a 14-year-old black child who was abducted and lynched in Mississippi in 1955 after being accused of offending, in fact, a white woman. Attorney Ben Crump voiced that he's recommitted, saying, "Whatever you're going to do with the Department of Justice, we will not turn back." Meanwhile, here's what Floyd's brother had to say.
This is organized chaos, what we're going through right now. and it's not chaotic, but it's just so organized. We walked this earth doing everything we supposed to do. We marched. We did everything we could to put people out to do things, to fight for George, not just George. It was Breonna Taylor, it was Ahmaud Arbery, it was Stephon Clark.
Lava was visible sprouting inside the Kilauea volcano on the Big Island of Hawaii on Sunday. As you see on your screens now, it has been visible on a live stream from the United States Geological Survey. The volcano has erupted sporadically since December last year. Well, it's time we slip into a short break. I'll see you on the other side.
In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora. We cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news, is here.
Welcome back. You're watching the World Report. On to some business news now, where according to a Financial Times report, China is tightening its grip on the financial sector, fast-tracking mergers of rural banks and brokerages in a bid to build economic resilience. Viewers, nearly 1 in 20 rural Chinese banks have already closed, and top security firms are merging under state direction. Beijing, meanwhile, wants fewer, stronger players like homegrown versions of JP Morgan to in fact stabilize the system and support long-term growth in the country. Now, the shakeup also reflects China's efforts to reposition globally amid rising financial headwinds. Vietnamese budget carrier Vietjet on Monday agreed to place a new order with plane maker Airbus for 20 A330 neo-wide-body jets. The airline said in a press release. Now, this comes as French President Emmanuel Macron was in Hanoi to meet Vietnam's leaders. Now, the agreement, viewers, brings to 40 the A330 neo planes that Vietjet had in fact agreed to buy, the company said, as it follows another deal signed last year for 20 A330 neo planes. McLaren's Lando Norris has won the Monaco Grand Prix on Sunday and reignited his charge for the championship. He held off challenges from Ferrari's Charles Leclerc and McLaren teammate Oscar Piastri. Red Bull's Max Verstappen, meanwhile, finished fourth, and Charles Leclerc secured the fifth position. Lando Norris' led from pole has brought him within 3 points of the chart topper Piastri, with Verstappen a whopping 25 points behind the third. An Indian motorsport witnessed a historic moment this weekend as Kushmeni became the first Indian to win a Formula 2 race at the Monaco Grand Prix. The 25-year-old converted pole position into a win at the reverse grid sprint race. The Lab 4, the Big Four as they are known, reunited at the French Open on Sunday as it gave farewell to its 14-time champion Rafael Nadal, or Rafa as he is called. Now, Nadal is the third one to retire after Roger Federer and Andy Murray. Nadal got emotional multiple times during the ceremony at Roland Garros. Federer comforted him by holding hands, and Djokovic, meanwhile, who won his 100th title on Saturday, hugged the Swiss champion. An Iranian dissident filmmaker who was forbidden from leaving Iran for 15 years won the top prize at the Cannes Film Festival for his movie It Was Just an Accident. Tehran has banned Jafar Parnahi's film, but he continues to direct them clandestinely in Iran. The plot was inspired by Panahi's time in jail 3 years ago, and despite Iran's restrictions, the filmmaker refuses to live in exile. No one should dare to tell us what kind of clothes we should wear, what we should do, or what we should not do. Actor John C. Reilly says taking on the role of Western icon Buffalo Bill in Italian and US co-production Heads or Tails was fascinating and a lot of fun. Speaking at the recent Cannes Film Festival, where the film was screening in the uncertain regard competition, in fact, Reilly expressed that Buffalo Bill was a man who understood the power of good PR or public relations. Well, that's a wrap on this Monday edition of the World Report. Take care and have a wonderful day.
Panda Bingo is the home of brilliant bingo rooms, great games, and out-of-this-world offers. It's absolute pandemonium at pandabingo.com/bingo.
We all love a bargain, like these flatmates who switched to Vodafone and are now paying less for their full fibre broadband, which means they can still stream 2 shows at the same time. But for less. Still gaming with mates, but for less.
It's easy to switch to reliable full fibre broadband for less
from Vodafone.
Whatever you need to ask about cancer, Macmillan's free support line is just a call away.
Hello, Macmillan.
Whether it's money...
Am I going to lose my job?
Getting on with life.
Can I still go abroad? Get insurance?
Or just need someone to listen.
How do I tell them?
Our specialist advisors are here to help as often as you need them. Whatever you need to ask, cancer, money, life, call us now on 0808 134 1000.
Someone's happy. Get that lucky cow feeling with luckycowbingo.com/bingo. The site that's bursting with beautiful bingo games. 75 ball bingo. Even 90 ball bingo. Fill your bingo boots today. Get that lucky cow feeling at luckycowbingo.com/bingo or download the Lucky Cow Android app from the Play Store.
John from work said it's a lovely hike.
Triathlon, John.
Hmm.
Right, Rosie, can I have the boots bag? No, I meant the hiking boots bag. Did we not bring it?
Such a shame.
Such a shame.
With thousands of lower prices of boots, that's your summer sorted.
Sun's out, fun's out. At Tesco Mobile, our deals will help you get the most out of summer. Get the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra with super-powered Galaxy AI and 250 gigs of data for just $55.99 a month with Club Card prices, saving you £432. And you'll collect Club Card points too. How you choose to spend them is up to you. It pays to be connected. Search Tesco Mobile. Every little helps.
Sun Bingo. Are you gonna bingo?
I think I'm going to bingo. Hey, Charlie 64, are you going to bingo?
Hey, Sassy Sam. Yeah, I'm gonna bingo. Hey, Geordie George, are you gonna bingo?
Not right now, mate. Maybe later?
Okay. Has a 93, are you gonna bingo?
Yeah, I'm defo gonna bingo. Join the fun at Sun Bingo. Are you gonna bingo?
2003 is when Munna Bhai MBBS happens to you.
Right.
Dr. Asthana. And then in 2009 is when you become Virus in Three Idiots. And then you make a directorial venture through Mehta Boys.
Right.
It has been quite a journey.
Yes.
But these two characters were particularly those which are seen as iconic. Would you say that they reshaped your entire, acting career?
You're absolutely right. People identify me with these two characters. I have had a learning curve through a lot of other characters too, but yes, there's no denial that these two, and if I might be allowed to put in one more, was Khosla Ghosla
Right.
Khurana. Because, and you're from Delhi, right? And I was cast for that role, and I was very hesitant. I went to Delhi to do some research on the character, and I met a young actor over there, not young, young in my eyes, who said, you know, I'm a little upset with you. I said, why? He said, I auditioned for this role. And of course, you didn't get it. So, but why are you upset with me? Tell the casting director or the director, why are you blaming me? He says, you see, you're a Parsi from Bombay. You're a Parsi from Mumbai. If I get a very important role of a Parsi in Mumbai, how would you feel? Yeah, he got a point. I said, now what are we going to do about this? So I said, and I gave such a fantastic audition. I researched and researched. I said, I tell you what, I got a better idea. Teach me. Help me. You must take help. And
Hello and welcome to Fault Lines on NDTV World. I'm Gauri Dwivedi. This is the show where we decode the truth behind the headlines and beyond the divide. Today, while Pakistan faces international pressure to stop sponsoring cross-border terrorism, its internal divisions and fractures are growing, whether it's in Balochistan and Sindh, leaving Islamabad's security, stability and unity in complete shambles. And then we'll take a look at the ideological battles that have ensued between the Trump administration and America's top universities. It was proud of once, the Ivy League, the left versus right, fractured and divisions playing out in American campuses. But first, let's take a look at our top story on the show. While Pakistan faces a crisis of legitimacy abroad, it's facing a security crisis, stability crisis within its borders. This map, viewers, shows the three hotbeds of Pakistan's internal turmoil, the divisions that are playing out in Pakistan. And we're going to put that out for you. The fault lines that exist in Pakistan. Let's